Welcome to Greg Plays Games. If you like Nintendo games and news, you've definitely come to the right channel. Definitely consider subscribing if this is your first time checking this out. Today, I'm going to be discussing the future of Nintendo, and we're not just talking 2022. We're talking what is the next iteration of console for Nintendo, because there is just so much supporting evidence that says we're not getting a new iteration of the Switch. I know we have the OLED that's already happened, and there's always rumors about a Switch Pro. And while there is some proof that supports this with the various iterations of the Nintendo DS, we had the normal Nintendo DS, the original release, the chunky brick, which was, questionable as far as design, but innovative when it released. And then we had the Nintendo DS Lite, which definitely improved upon the original design and made it a little more sleek. Then the DSi, which removed the Game Boy slot, which is, a bummer, but was definitely more sleek and mature than some of the previous iterations. And there were even more iterations after the Nintendo DSi. I think there was an XL, and then, the whole slew of Nintendo 3DS consoles that released as well. The original, the DS, 3DS XL, the new 3DS, the new 3DS XL. So there is definitely a history of their handheld consoles having these revisions, and I definitely think we will see more revisions of the Nintendo Switch. In 2022, probably not. I would be very surprised, but maybe in 2023. But I want to focus more on what is going to happen after the Switch, because Nintendo always kind of hints at what their future ideas are going to be, like when you reflect on the Wii and its motion controls to the Wii U, which included the motion controls and was essentially just a beefed up Nintendo Wii, but introduced the idea of this separate machine that you could still play games on, and was really essentially a prototype of the Nintendo Switch. And maybe if they had just kind of waited and really improved upon what the Nintendo Wii U did, they would have seen, clearly they would have seen success when you just compare sales of the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch, because the Wii U was a huge failure. But the concept and idea was really smart, but they just hadn't executed it well. And I think there is some allusions to what the next steps are in what we've seen with the Nintendo Switch. What I believe Nintendo is going to really delve into next is VR. I always know Nintendo does exactly what you don't expect them to do, so it'll probably be something completely different. But I think there are a few breadcrumbs that are showing that Nintendo is really going to take a stab at VR with their next console. And the first breadcrumb is the Nintendo Virtual Boy, which before the Wii U was their worst selling console. I'll have to check the numbers. I don't know if the Wii U sold worse than the Virtual Boy, but the Virtual Boy was just too ahead of its time. It was a VR type machine that only showed in red, and just it did not sell well. The technology was just probably not there for people to be ready for that. But in the Switch as well, we've seen implementation of VR with Nintendo Labo. You could build a cardboard VR headset and play VR games on Nintendo Labo through your Nintendo Switch. And then they went and they took the concept of the VR and the actual Nintendo Labo VR peripheral itself and implemented those with Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey. There could be some other games that I don't know about that implement those, but Nintendo definitely took a stab at VR in some of their major games, and I think it'll be a handful of years before we even see or hear about Nintendo VR as a concept or console a little more in depth. But I think that the rising advancements in VR technology with Oculus PlayStation obviously delving into it with the PlayStation 4 and definitely the PlayStation 5. I really think it's a matter of time before one of these heavy hitters really go all in on VR. And Nintendo is always at the forefront of innovation and creativity. And so just based off of their history alone, it seems likely that Nintendo's going to go all in at VR at some point. I just kind of think that the consumer market wasn't quite ready yet, and I think that there's definitely a more openness to this now, especially as major games are being included in VR like Minecraft and Skyrim. So I think it's a really interesting concept, VR in general, I mean, and there's still a lot of hesitations for people just because of the motion sickness associated with it, as well as just a desire for traditional gaming sitting on your couch with the controller, which I think is definitely always going to exist. But the Wii is a perfect example for how the market will adapt and, adopt these new technologies like motion control. That was very non-traditional, especially when it released. It was very innovative, and the sales reflected. It was the best-selling console of that generation. I don't know if it ever surpassed the PlayStation 2, but yeah, it's really interesting, and Nintendo has their history with motion controls and some experience in VR, and it just kind of seems like a natural progression as far as Nintendo and technology in general, as well as what younger generations are interested in. I think there's a huge market for VR, especially in some of these younger generations that are growing up with mobile and non-traditional gaming. So super interesting. I'd love to know what you guys think. I wanted to kind of talk about some of the future as we head into this new year. So definitely let me know what you guys think. Will Nintendo delve more into VR? Do you think they'll fully commit to VR? How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments section. I think it will be really cool. I hope that it's more of an addition to, but knowing Nintendo, I think they'd fully commit to VR whether you like it or not, and they're going to create some really great innovative games if they do take that approach. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Definitely like the video if you enjoyed this discussion, and thank you for checking out this video. I have not been on the mic for a few videos. I was enjoying my winter break and time off, and I hope you guys did the same. Hopefully you guys got some really fun video games at Christmas. I myself have switched sides from PlayStation to Xbox. I've just not been able to get a PlayStation 5, whereas the Xbox Series S has been readily available, and I just could not help myself, and I just really wanted to play some next-gen games and an experience what that is like, as well as Xbox Game Pass just being, the ultimate consumer-friendly streaming service, or game service, I should say. So let me know what you guys got over Christmas as well, if you've made it this far into the video. As always, I really appreciate you checking out this video, and see you guys in the next one.